Okay, I'm gonna hang up. I got my audio up so you can hear me. Unmute your laptop too, Rabbi.
All right, good. Let me just see. Hi, everybody. Sorry, we're having some technical issues. So you all will be able to have the text in front of you in just a second. I'll share my screen, but I need to just try to solve for the people in the class. So give me just one more minute and I'll be right with everyone. Okay. Thank you all.
Lila, you're muted. I can't hear you, just so you know. Your laptop is muted.
Can't hear you, Rabbi.
There you go. I
There
can
you
hear
go.
you now.
Thank you. Okay, so there are Torah books. You can pass around those Torah books to some people. There are some books on the shelf if we want to take it. So we're going to be creative today. We're going to improvise. Okay, so for my friends online, we are going to be, let me get my screen. Awesome. And we can share too. Hi.
She and her husband know everything by heart.
Okay, so can everyone online hear me okay? All right. Everyone's just trying to get settled for a second, so I'm sorry if there's some background noise, but we're all just trying to get books and share. Everyone's being very sweet. Awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
It opened right to
Hello.
the page. It opened right to the page.
Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you. So we're in the book. Okay, so here we go. All right, I'm gonna have everybody Sheket bavakasha. Hey, okay. Here we are. So first of all, I'm thrilled to see you. We have a little, like I mentioned, we have some technical issues today, so we won't be seeing anything on the screen. So we're gonna get very close to the people near us who have text, who have books with you. We're in the book of Deuteronomy. We're in Parsha Re'eh. It's Deuteronomy chapter 11. So this is gonna be a good exercise in searching through Torah to find our right place. So we're looking for Deuteronomy. We're gonna do chapter 11, verse 26. Deuteronomy 11, verse 26. Okay, now, the only thing I'm gonna ask today is because we don't have the owl, our friends online can hear everything and it's gonna sound like a little bit muffled. So I am gonna ask today, usually I'm not like so insistent about hand raising and side chatter. That doesn't matter to me usually. But for our friends online to be able to have a meaningful experience, we just need to sort of be thoughtful about that today. Okay, fair? Good? Thank you. Okay, great. So let's first put everything, everyone's turned to the right page. Okay.
Is this it? This is it. 26.
Deuteronomy chapter 11, starting at verse 26. If you have the page, you can share it with someone. Deuteronomy 11, verse 26. Verse 26. Okay? The Parsha's name is Re'eh. Parsha's name is Re'eh. See, this is a good exercise. Sometimes good things happen when we don't have to rely on screens. We get to actually search through the words of Torah. 1 second, I just want to make sure everyone's together. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 26. Re'eh. Parsha Re'eh. Okay. Did you have a question?
I just liked your Shabbat message.
Oh, thank you. You're sweet. Thank you. Okay, so let's all just put everything down. Place your hands down. You don't need anything for a second. We all need to become present here. We allow ourselves to leave everything else behind for the next hour, to release ourselves from the work, from the responsibilities, from the to-do lists, from the craziness that got us here, from the regular routine, to allow ourselves to enter into this Beit Midrash, our house of study. In this place, we allow ourselves to be open to the wisdom of our tradition, inspired by the words that our people have recited for generations, uplifted by the perspective that we all share with one another, with our own insight, our own experience, and our own take on the text. It is our living, breathing story, and we add to it each week when we add to it the experiences of our lives and the essence of our being. Amen. Blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. Okay, let's read. So here's what we're going to do. For what we'll do is I will read aloud like usual. You are going to pay attention to what you hear. Today, especially with Parshat Re'eh, you're going to pay attention to what you see. Re'eh, ro'ah, to see. So we're going to pay close attention to what we see in the text. Not just what we hear, what we see and what stands out for us. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 11, starting with verse 26, Parshat Re'eh. See, Re'eh. Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. See, Moses says, see, this day I set before you blessing and curse. Blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I enjoin upon you this day. Sorry, I have to do both here. And curse, if you do not obey the commandments of your God, but turn away from the path that I enjoin upon you this day. Okay? And follow other gods whom you have not experienced. I'm going to stop there. What do you see? What do you hear? What stands out for you? Okay, Tara?
We have a freedom of choice here. We have a choice.
Okay, let's just start with that. We have a choice. We have a choice. Okay, what's the choice?
Choose the right things to do or not.
Okay, what did you say, Marcia?
Follow them.
Okay, so we have a few, so listen to, isn't this amazing? Just wait 1 second. We have one verse and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different opinions. Right? That's perfect. You can't write this, right? Like it writes itself. It's great. Okay, so let's read it again. Let's really pay attention to what it says. See, this day I set before you blessing and curse. Blessing if you obey the commandments of your God, and curse if you do not obey the commandments of your God. What words stand out for you here? What seems interesting? Marcia? That's okay.
And it, you don't like to think of God as being so punitive. You
Yeah.
like to think of God as more accepting and more teaching than punishing.
Okay, so interesting here, right? So we have a choice, right, that Tara set up for us. There's also consequences, right? There's a punitive element here. Okay, very nice. Spencer? No? Anyone over here? Yeah, Maddie?
I would say it's a very black and white decision, very clearly set.
Okay, so for Maddie, this framework is very clear in the text. Black and white. Blessing, curse. Follow the commandments. What do you get? Do not obey the commandments. Okay.
But if you don't obey the commandment, is there a redemption? I mean, you can still redeem yourself.
I'm sure, right? But I'm sure potentially, maybe, but we don't know, right? In just these 3 verses, what do we know? What do we follow? What do we just focus on? The 2 things. Exactly. Beautiful. Yeah, Marcia.
Having grown up with this, I always, please forgive me, I always thought God was punitive and harsh and all knowing, we know what you're thinking, we know what you're saying, we know what you're doing, and I didn't see much of the kindness and the teaching and the joy.
No, I'm just letting them know about the computer.
You know, I'm sorry I have that opinion. About 3 years ago, I was talking to my cousin from Israel, very pious, very wonderful, and we were talking about this. And I said, so where's the positive? And he said, look outside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Mm.
I was blown up.
Mm.
A punitive kind of God. He got a lot of commandments. I'm not going to do all of them, so I'm in trouble.
Mm. Interesting. Beautiful.
I was reading in one of the websites about that. This was the beginning of a free will for human beings to make their own choices. But there's also consequences to these choices, whether it's God behind those consequences or what happens because of those choices. It is the beginning of man's free will.
Mm.
Because he can, we can decide what to do one way or the other. Whether you put God in the equation or not, you have consequences.
So very interesting. So when do we know of a choice? When are other moments of choice in the Torah?
This,
Hold on, I just want to say choice. Are you going to talk about choices?
kind of.
Okay.
So this phrase, follow other gods whom you have not experienced. I think that's interesting for two reasons. Number one, this is a generation past the golden calf. So all they know is the God of Israel. And they were not slaves in Egypt, so they know no other gods.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find interesting about that is also that Moses is reciting, almost this was a problem. The people made a choice to the golden calf when things got tough, and then made the choice to come back.
Okay. Okay.
It's Deuteronomy 7, yeah.
Choice with Abraham and
Mm.
Isaac.
Okay. So another choice, Abraham and Isaac. Think about the first choice.
Oh.
In the,
I was
oh,
gonna
get
say
it.
that.
Yes, Maddie,
I
go.
was gonna say that,
It's the garden of
exactly, that,
eating the apple.
Eve decided to bite the apple.
Okay.
That she had temptation to stray to, but it's also part of the human element to have curiosity.
Yeah.
So it's really about discipline.
Beautiful. Okay. So beautiful. And there's so many things to unpack there. Let's focus on it. I want to talk about, in relation to this sense of choice, the first instance of choice that we see all the way back in Bereshit, in the book in Genesis. God says very clearly what you should eat from, what you shouldn't eat from. And Adam and Eve knew that there was a choice to make, which is fascinating because we don't know much more about them at all. They come into being, they are created, they know what their purpose and their role is in the earth, to live right in this place, to dominion over the earth. And then God says, eat from this tree, but don't eat from this tree. And what happens? They made a choice. Whether it's presented that way or not, they made a choice. Okay? As a result, there's a consequence. Okay? Interestingly enough, there are other choices that are made along the way, obviously throughout the narrative, throughout the story, and throughout all the books. There are choices. The Israelites made a choice to build the golden calf. They made a choice. Now, one could argue, that this was still, you can make arguments for any kind of a choice that we make, but they knew that they weren't supposed to do that. But Moses, their leader, was gone for 40 days and they were scared. So they needed to assuage their fears with something that they could see and touch and feel. Something familiar, something comfortable, something they understood. They made a choice. Other situations, if you don't remember in the wilderness, we learn if you don't follow, same kind of a concept that the rains won't fall. And that's a big problem because then there's not water. There are choices. On terms of ritual purity, we make choices. And if we don't do the right thing, then we're ritually impure. Then there's a ritual that we need to undergo in order to become pure again. But this is an interesting statement here. It also shows an evolution in the relationship between Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, and the God of Israel, as they're about to embark on their journey into the land of Israel. Remember, they're just steps away, right? These are the final bits of advice that Moses is sharing with the people of Israel. And he says something interesting. Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom. Hayom means what? Today, right? Hayom. It's a good day.
Yom Tov.
Yeah, Yom Tov, right? Yom Tov. Tov is good. Yom is day. You were very close. And you know Hebrew, you put it together. We have a good day. Yom, Hayom. See, I set this day. Today, I place before you blessing and curse. So the rabbis ask, why is it necessary? Why do we have to say today? Why are we positioning it in a moment in time? You could just say, Moses could say to the people of Israel, hey, guys, listen up. God places before you blessings and curses. Blessings will come to you if you obey. Curses will come to you if you don't obey. So why the Hayom? Remember, nothing in Torah is superfluous. It's there for a reason. So why do you think the word Hayom is there?
Standing on the mountain, ready to go into Israel. So it's a time of choice. It has to be made now before we go in, because once you go in, life is different.
Okay, beautiful. So they're about to evolve and transform, right? They're making an evolution in their journey. Okay, very interesting. What else is about to happen with them? If we're following your line here of thought. Right, right. That's beautiful, right? That's really interesting. If we're looking at the psyche of the people now and what Moses is trying to impart to them, I'm not going to be here with you. There's going to be new leadership. Sure, you're going to be guided. God's going to be with you. But I just want to remind you that today, here are these things. We have choices. And new choices are going to arise when you enter that land. Your choices have consequences. Your decisions can bring about goodness and blessing. They can also bring about difficulty and pain or curses. Today, I'm reminding you, I'm placing these things before you. Okay, Tara? How so?
They said this God's will be shown too. They made that choice that day to be on Israel.
Yep.
That was their thunder and lightning. So they made that choice.
If you were to just, it's now 11:21 a.m. How many choices have you made this morning, just up until this moment today? Don't answer right away. Think about it. From the moment you opened your eyes to getting here and it's now 11:21. How many choices have you made?
Dozens.
Okay. Take a moment and think about them. What is the nature of the choices that you've made so far? So far. What is the nature of the choices? Not so significant. Okay. So for Marcia, not so significant. Okay. That's for Marcia. Everyone's nature of their choice is going to be different. So for Marcia, not so significant. Perfect. Who else wants to tell me about their choices? Marilyn.
Whether you hygiene, or whether you take care of your body, you nourish yourself appropriately or not appropriately, every choice.
Mm.
Yes.
Beautiful. So every choice, and from Marilyn's perspective, is significant in its own way. It's its own characteristic, but it's significant. Okay, beautiful. Lauren, then Spencer.
Mine are significant to be here today.
Mm.
Personal nature, have to do with relationships, what I was going to prioritize.
Beautiful. So your choices about being here in this moment, you had to prioritize and make different decisions. And what the choice was that you made was to come here, but it's wrapped up in a whole host of other choices and decisions. Okay, beautiful. Spencer?
They're pretty small choices, but they're important to me.
Okay.
Just what kind of coffee I wanted to drink this morning, and which of my 3 favorite teas to bring with me.
Okay, right.
Those set my mood for the day.
Well, that's it. That's important. Sylvie, did you have something?
Well, I didn't see it as choices. I mean, I think that there are choices that we make intellectually and consciously. And then there are choices that we make out of habit. And then there are the in between, the choices that you make because, you get up in the morning. I choose to get up in the morning, go to the bathroom and wash my face. It isn't a mental choice that I made. I'm going to get up in the morning now and I'm going to go and wash my face. I didn't do that. As opposed to other choices that require a little bit more introspection and thought and a decision.
Okay, interesting. Beautiful.
I just made a choice, someone that really hurt me badly, but they call me that he's an emergency in a hospital. And that's why I have the phone here because I'm trying to help him and make a decision because they can't reach the family. So I made the decision to forget about everything what he did and just help him.
And focus on that. Interesting, beautiful.
Last night before I retired, but then I had an idea what I thought my day would be like today when I awakened. And it wasn't exactly what I thought, so I had to make some other choices, but my ultimate goal was to arrive here, which I did. But I had to also carry out some other tasks.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, Debbie.
My choices were helpful to me and helpful to my health today.
Beautiful, beautiful. How many of you thought about the choices while you were making them? Or because we're talking about it and we made an intentional decision to think about them, how often do you think about the number of choices you make in a day? Not all the time. I mean, like maybe some, obviously, right? But maybe not all the time. Maybe by like 11:21 a.m. and most days you don't stop to pause to say, how many choices did I make to get me to this moment? Right? Yeah.
But a lot of the time, I'm aware of how lucky I am that I have choices.
Oh my gosh, why is that pathetic? That's beautiful. That's amen v'amen. That's the sermon, right? That's beautiful. To make the choice to recognize that you are grateful, that's a choice, by the way. To choose to recognize gratitude is a choice. Hey, you know what? There are a lot of people who would love to be able to make that choice, right? That's your point, right? That's your point. To actually stop and recognize when we just say we have freedom of choice. That's why I didn't necessarily grasp onto that right away. Because in some ways we use that phrase like it's like sort of a blanket statement, right? It's okay. Or freedom of choice seems like it's just religious, right? Or, like in the Torah, we talk about the Torah, right? It also means a lot of other things in our world today, right? But when we think about the action, choices require action. It's an active part of our being to make choices, whether it's conscious or subconscious, it's active. It's an active part of who we are. This didn't even need to start with re'eh, by the way. And that's what I love about Torah so beautifully. It could just say, today I set before you blessing and curse. Blessing if you obey, curse if you don't. But it doesn't say that. Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom. See. Right. See. Not if you want to, you could potentially open your eyes and look and see. No, it's a command. It's in command form in the Hebrew. Re'eh, see. I place before you, I give to you today. And I place it right before you, lifnechem, before you. Almost like, here it is, everybody. You're all here. What I'm going to do is blessing and curse. It's right before you. See it? Do you see it? Right? So our tradition then asks us, okay, so if it's see it, it's right before you, blessing and curse, obey or not, understand that these choices come with consequences, good or bad, whatever it is, but I want you to see it, acknowledge it, become aware of these two things, these two forces, and know that they're here. And that you, as a human being, and in relationship with God, in this partnership, you have the blessing, the gift, to make that choice every day, today, hayom. And by the way, that choice can change every day. Which then the Kabbalists, the mystics of our tradition say, that's interesting. That means that there's two forces living within us. Yetzer Ra, our inclination to do evil or bad, and our Yetzer Tov, our inclination to do good. Now, the mystics take it a step further. They say, yes, it's an inclination, but it's also, they base it off of this section of the Torah, and they say it's the ayin hara, the eye, the evil eye, like, you know me, I'm obsessed, right? God, I want only good things, right? And also the ayin hatov, the good eye. Are we going to see and be led by our inclination of good? Are we going to see and be led by our inclination to do evil? For the Kabbalist, the eyes are not just tools for seeing and sight. They are windows into our soul, right? The mystics of Sfat, the eyes are a window into your soul. So when I look into someone's eyes, if I have the blessing of being connected to them, the mystics say that we have the ability to look deeper into their being than just the surface level of what they're presenting. That it's not just the inclination to do good, but it's our ability to look through the lens of goodness. It's our choice, our ability to look through the lens of evil, of wrongdoing. And it's a choice. And we get to choose every day. So when we think that, oh, someone is born evil and they can't change, okay. There's also the perspective to say, well, in our tradition, each and every day, we have the ability, because we are granted a new pure soul every day, right? Elohai neshama shenatata bi, thank you, God, for restoring within me a pure soul. That it's a result of my choices if I'm going to maintain the purity of that soul, the goodness of that soul. It's also my choice if I'm not. I'm going to stop. What have you heard? What are you feeling? What resonates with you? Yeah, Lauren, we'll go down, we'll go like this.
Use when, say the lens of good and the lens of wrongdoing. Are we talking about ourselves? Or are we choosing to see that in someone else?
What do you think? How do you hear it?
Even ourselves.
Okay. So it can, right. Yes. Because it can be both. Right? The window metaphor is also a beautiful metaphor too, for another reason. You can look out of a window. You can also look into a window. Right? So in Sfat, who here's been to Sfat in Israel? Okay, so have you been to the Cairo synagogue? Right, that has the blue door, right? And like the amazing bookshelves, and it's like, oh, just like my soul soars. Okay, so Sfat is just magical, mystical amazingness. In the Cairo synagogue, one of my favorite things about the Cairo synagogue is the window. So there's a window, the ark and the bima is in the center because it's Sephardic style. So like imagine that this is where the bima is, and that's where the Arona Kodesh is, that's where the ark is. And where our ark is a window. And there's benches, and then there's a big bookshelf behind. And that window looks out into the fields of Svat. And we imagine that it was those fields that the mystics would go out on Shabbat afternoon to physically bring themselves out into the fields in order to welcome and receive the Sabbath bride and usher the Sabbath bride back up the hill and into the city to bring about that spirit of Shabbat. That window was their view of a world that they had imagined, a world of receiving a spirit of Shabbat, a world of joy, that you could be joyous with Judaism, that you could sing and you could dance. It was after a very difficult, dark time, right? They had been expelled from Spain. Right? It was difficult, and they were there, and they were imagining a different world outside of that window. If we think about our own eyes as a window looking outward into a world that we want to imagine, but also a window looking inward into a soul that we imagine and into a world that we reimagine, right? This Parsha is so beautifully placed right before Elul. So the Hebrew month of Elul begins on Tuesday, where we welcome the whole new month of Elul that precedes the High Holy Days. And it is a time designated for spiritual introspection and soulful preparation for the High Holy Days. To be introspective requires us to do what? Look within. Who here has ever seen within themselves? How do you do that?
With an MRI.
With an MRI, right? So unpleasant, right? Nobody wants to do that. Right? If we think about like what our tradition is asking us to do, re'eh, see, look within, open the window and look within and see inside of our souls and our being and our heart. It requires us to sort of like I always think about like this cocoon sort of image in my mind of like just a full cocoon of darkness to then sort of shut out everything else and just close my eyes and imagine I am now thinking about every little piece of that makes me who I am. Hayom, today. And what are the little pieces that I want to create and put together to be the person I want to become in the new year? Right? But it takes work. So our tradition says, no, don't just wait for the night before Rosh Hashanah. You have a whole month. You need the time. Right? Same thing with this Parsha. What the Parsha is saying to us is, I set before you today this notion of blessing and curse. If you obey the commandments, if you don't obey the commandments, there are consequences, yes. But it's deeper than that. That's the pshat level, right? That's our surface level of the text. Here's what it is. Make the choice. If you make the right choice, great things happen. You don't make a good choice, bad things happen. Okay. But then the next level of the text is to say, that's an understanding and an awareness. But to see and to be able to look within ourselves and to see how we come to those choices, why we come to those choices, and what the cadence of choice making is of our lives. There's a rhythm to choice making. Sometimes it's consistent. Sometimes it's erratic. Sometimes it's seemingly insignificant. Or at other times, it's life-changing and altering. But we have the ability and the gift to be able to make them.
But is it some people, for you could be a right choice, and for me, your choice is the wrong choice?
Well, give me an example.
You decided to go to certain event that I feel that you should not go because of your beliefs, but you say, I'm going anyhow. And I said, no, I'm not going because that's not right for me. So not everyone thinks the same way, and what's right for one, it's wrong for the other one.
Absolutely. But what about in this text?
It's about God's command.
Right. Right. So what's interesting about it's about God's commandments in the text, right? So in the text, right, it's somewhat clear. I mean, we got to do a lot more studying and what commandments, what's the right? Like there's a whole, that's why we have a compendium of text, right? But ultimately on the surface, yeah, there's a set of rules and obligations, roles and responsibilities. There's a covenant that we entered into. We follow that covenant, and that's what we do, and that's what we're blessed. We don't follow that covenant, great. We're not blessed. However, when we evolve into choice making and decision making, of course, we've come to the recognition and the realization that not every choice is a sacred choice. In this sense, your choices about who you are and what you do and how you live, those are sacred, holy choices for you. But it doesn't mean that my sacred and holy choices are right for you. And that's okay, right? The decision, though, here is to recognize that there are choices, priorities, choices that we make to bring us to certain parts of our lives, that move us along the journey of our lives, right? But what's interesting is we don't always think about being able to see the choice. And that's what I find so profound about the text in this week's Parsha, is this idea that the choices can be seen. Even when we talk about obeying or disobeying God, right? This idea, even though God is not seen, quote unquote, these choices are laid out in a way that it's a visual representation of our commitment to the covenant with God. Yeah.
What about the person who cannot summon, and I'm going to give you two opposites, the faith to follow the commandment because the feeling, the emotion of fear overrides them? I know that's the human nature in all of us, to have that faith, but there are people that don't have a level of awareness or have the deep enough faith to override the fear.
Okay, so I'm going to say something. I'm going to cling to what you're saying, but I'm also going to tweak it a little. For me, for my ear, faith is not the absence of fear. The beautiful thing about the word for reverence of God or fear of God, which is yirah, right, is it means fear, to be afraid or fear, but it also means awe and reverence. That's a fascinating thing, that you can have fear, you can be afraid, and yet the same word is used for awe and reverence of God. Why? Okay, so the why is, let's say, fear is a very powerful emotion. Fear is not just a vulnerability. It can also be a strength. It can lead you to deeper thought, questioning, wrestling. There could be fears of unknowns. There could be fears of lots of different fear of the enormity of what is and what could be, right? Now, can fear also be somewhat debilitating and heavy? Yeah. But all the more so in those moments do we cling to the faith or the knowingness that there is something greater that we can cling to, right? So fear, just because we have fear, does not mean we don't have faith. Faith is something that I think incorporates so many different emotions and layers of being, because it's truly about a relationship. There are moments in our own lives when we're in relationships where there's fear. It doesn't have to be danger, by the way. Right? Do you ever have like a little bit of like, oh God, I gotta go tell them that, right? Like, oh, this is I have to go tell whatever, fill in the blank, that I didn't do XYZ and now the consequence. Like, I cannot summon the courage to do that. Right? It doesn't have to be fear of personal danger, but there's a level of fear. Right? Does that mean you don't have faith in your relationship, that it's going to crumble? Maybe some, maybe not. I don't know. Right? But the idea with God in that terms of that relationship is that the same type of experiences that we have with one another and with the people that we love dearly or that we're in connection with and partnership with, that same kind of relationship is mirrored in the relationship we have with God. And so it's okay to have fear. And it's okay to question. It's okay to wonder where are they, right? It's all wrapped up in that complexity of that relationship. It's not such a black and white choice, blessing and curse. Choose to obey or don't obey, right? It on the surface, it seems to be black and white, but the choice may be very difficult to obey in that moment, right? The Torah doesn't go into the depth of the golden calf when they wrestled with building the calf. We just know they built the calf. Did they wrestle with the choice?
Oh,
Right? Could have. Don't know, but they could have.
we'll probably very pro-cat. and
Right, there are definitely different camps of calf, right? Like we don't know. Well, should it be gold? Should it be silver? I don't know. Right? Should it be big? Should it be small? I don't know. Should everyone have one? Should we have one big one? I don't know. Right? I don't know. Yeah. No.
But, what we're saying, I enjoy calling this day and follow other gods who we have not experienced with
So remember, they're standing just about to go into the land of Canaan. There are other people there. There are people there. There are people who live there. There are people who live there who worship other gods. Right? Like we can assume you're about to go. You're going to encounter other people. You're going to encounter other experiences. You're going to see things you've never seen before. Right? You're going to see people are going to be living in a certain way. Right? I'm reminding you of your relationship with the divine. I'm reminding you that you got here for a reason. It wasn't by accident. I'm reminding you it's because when you make the choice to follow God and obey God's commandments, that you will be blessed in this land that God is bringing to you. There's another section, and I want to get, there's a Talmudic passage that I really want to get to, but there's one section in here in the text that I just find so amazing. Hold on, I'm going to tell you right now. It's going to be in chapter 12, so just turn the page potentially. Hold on. Okay, so here. Go to chapter 12, verse 8. Okay. It continues on about the blessings, the curses. You shall not act at all as we now act here, each of us as we please. Because you have not yet come to the allotted haven that your God is giving you. Right? This is all setting them up for when they go into the land. We're not going to act in the same way here than we are there.
What does it mean, every man as he pleases? Just do what you want?
I'm right. That's basically what Moses is saying. Like, we lived in a certain way here. Now you're going to be you're going to settle. You're not going to be wanderers. It's different. You're going to set up your homes in a place where there are other people settling next door to you, right? It's different. Okay? We're doing what we're doing, and we're in relationship with God. We're following God because there's no other distractions, right? Now we're going into this land. Okay? When you cross the Jordan and settle in the land that your God is allotting to you, and God grants you safety from all your enemies around you, and you live in security, then you must bring everything that I command you to the site where your God will choose to establish the divine name. Your burnt offerings and other sacrifices, your tithes and contributions, and all the choice votive offerings that you vow to God. What are they setting up here? Yeah, right? Amazing. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead for a second because I want you to see the one line that I want you to have. Come on. Hello. Okay. So basically, here, it comes back to verse 20. Go to page 20, verse 25. Because now we're starting to talk about Be'enei Adonai. What you are doing is right in the sight of God, in the eyes of God. So this sense again, re'eh, see. look, you have these choices. You're going to do what's right in the eyes of God. Okay? Just these are interesting choices. Verse 28. Be careful to heed all these commandments that I enjoin upon you. Thus it will go well for you. Make a good choice. It's going to go well for you and your descendants after you forever. For you will be doing what is good and right, be'enei Adonai Elohecha, right in the sight and the eyes of the Lord your God. Your eyes, with your eyes, you'll see these choices. Doing all of these things and living in this way, what you will be doing is good and right, be'enei Adonai Elohecha, in the eyes of God. In the eyes of God. It's not just we're using this interesting phrase, right? God, Moses says, I want to see your face, God. God says, no one can see my face and live, but I'll show you my back to know that my presence is here. But we're so curious and interested. And so we focus on Be'enei Adonai Elohecha. By making these choices, by adhering to these commandments, and doing what is good and right, Be'enei Adonai Elohecha, doing what is right in the eyes of God. Like God sees you. You see God. We're using our eyes to see God. And God sees us. Tara.
Of all time, Rabbi Fisher's work when bad things happen to people. Because it's all about the choice to be made. There's a really good evil in this world. And so when I read about this, when it says that they're in evil, or is it just the choices we make? Like you said, it was 2 parts. I remember that whole book. It was like a fireside chat with Rabbi Fisher and his perspective. Also his book Delight. But it's this whole thing of consequences and actions. And his book really is like that study of, of like, bad things happen. Like, why do these things happen? And then it's really into the idea of choices.
Sure.
It's really great.
It's beautiful. He's excellent.
Right. When bad things happen to good people. Oh, yes, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to read this Talmudic story because I have it here. So you're going to use your eyes to listen. Okay?
It's a mixed metaphor.
It is intentional too. Okay, here we go. There were 2 rabbis, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shimon. And one day they were engaged in study. They posed the question, where am I supposed to look when I pray? Where am I supposed to look when I pray? Well, one said, when we pray, we must direct our eyes downward, for it is written, my eyes and my heart will be there on earth for all time. The other says, no. Our eyes must be directed upward, for it is written, let us lift our hearts and our hands and our eyes to God in heaven. As they were deep in debate, another rabbi, Rabbi Ishmael, happened to enter into the house of study, and he asked, what are you 2 discussing? They said, we're debating a question. Where am I supposed to look when I pray? Rabbi Ishmael put his hands through his beard, closed his eyes, and began to think. After just a few moments, he looked at his 2 colleagues and he said, when we pray, we must direct our eyes downward, so we are completely focused and intentional, and we lift our hearts upwards toward God. Our eyes are downward, focused, intentional, looking within, but our hearts are lifted upwards toward God. What Parsha Re'eh reminds us of is that seeing is not just an action of our eyes. It's an activity of our being. It allows us to look within ourselves, the window within, and to look the window outward into the world. It gives us and grants us the ability to see and to be seen by one another and by our God. the ability that we have to look up and to lift our eyes and to see. We can also see when our eyes are closed. We can make ourselves acutely aware by enhancing our other senses and come into a place of knowing. But it's this introspection of this month coming up of Elul, that when we think about Parshat Re'eh and the choice of blessing and curse, of good and evil, of right and wrong, that first and foremost, we are grateful that we have the ability to make a choice, and then to harness that gratitude to make the choices that lead us to a place of blessing and goodness. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience today. Appreciate you. Shabbat Shalom. We have service. Oh, I wanted to tell everybody before we go offline, I want to tell everybody about this coming week, Elul. So we have a number of different things happening in order to prepare ourselves spiritually for the High Holy Days. We have lunch and learn, obviously, that we will continue with our Elul focus, and Rabbi Amy Pessa will begin in in September for lunch and learn Elul focused. But starting next week, Tuesdays from 1 to 2, intentionally the time, because if you're here for lunch and learn or for Mahjong or for yoga or for all the things that happen on Tuesdays, we invite you to come to the sanctuary between 1 and 2. There will be a clergy person there. We've designed rituals for your own personal introspection and prayer that you can do with your family, you can do on your own, you can do with friends, you can do them privately, you can do them in group, whatever you want. The Ark will be open. You can come and offer your prayers before the open Ark in preparation for the holy days. And also we'll have these little paper squares that you can write. We say the Psalm, Achat Sha'alti, we ask one thing of God. I'm asking everybody in our entire congregation to write one wish for the new year and to be able to place that one wish in our Ark. So you'll be able to write your wish, you'll be able to place in the Ark. We started this week with our teens and their parents. So we're doing this on both campuses, the Beck campus as well as our Schaefer campus. And so the staff did it yesterday, which was really powerful and beautiful to begin a little ritual of gratitude and of spiritual healing, of wellness and well-being. And then this coming week will be open to the congregation for the entire month of Elul. So every Tuesday and every Thursday, if you're in the evening, if you work 6 to 7, you can come. There'll be a clergy person here. You can sit with them, you can talk to them, you can ignore them, whatever you want, and have your ritual, do your ritual together or with assistance, whatever you would like. It's share it, spread the word, let people know and understand that this is an opportunity to prepare soulfully and spiritually in our sacred spaces over the month of Elul. And we encourage you to do that and come with friends and family. Yes, and it'll go out on Monday, like a full email about it will go out on Monday. Yeah, and it's on the website too. It's called Sacred Space for Sacred Preparation. And then the Elul Mikvah ritual will be September 13th. You'll get a lot of information about that. We go to the beach on a Saturday morning. It's amazing. You can wear your clothes, you can wear a bathing suit, I don't care. We go into the water and we immerse in the water to come out fully purified and ready to begin the new year. It's amazing. Don't miss it. Come with everyone you know. It's so fun. Last year we had like 50 people with us. It was amazing. We do a Shabbat worship service and then go into the ocean. It'll start to be advertised now. Yeah, you can meet here. Yeah, we'll do like a short, and it's like a condensed